All you Angry Beavers out there, welcome to Toronto, Canada. And we're right in front of the U.S. consulate on University Avenue. And this here is about Julian Assange and what's been happening with him and Chelsea Manning as well. And how much dirt that they've gotten from the U.S. government. It's just amazing. If you check out those signs over there, it's mind-boggling. Oh yeah, a lot of information there, all through the years, and it's remarkable that nobody in the U.S. government or their cohorts are not in prison for treason. With the mainstream media now, the Iran is the next one on the list because they're trying to make up a lot of dirt on Iran and about them making nukes and everything else too, right? And attacking the U.S., but which I don't think is going to happen. Well, it's because look at how many bases are around Iran, U.S. bases. It's not going to happen. So, but basically, this is about the truth. You know what I mean? Getting the truth out there and having our governments, accountable for their actions, which they're not. It's because a lot of people don't know what government means. Government means govern is to control or regulate, and ment is Latin for mind. So it actually means mind control. That's probably why you don't get many people out here right now protesting or speaking up, which is pretty sad, you know what I mean? But maybe somebody will come along and speak up, which we already have one lady over there with her sign, which is a good thing.
Yeah, we'll check out the signs. So you're recommending everyone tune into the Angry Beaver Radio show on the new channel?
Yeah, the new Angry Beaver Radio on the YouTube. Check us out, and we're one of the independent voices that I think people should get a hold of and to really do something. If you don't do anything, you're going to repeat history, right? And we don't want to do that. With all that's going on with Assange and him and Manning, I mean, it's not 1984 anymore. It's more 2084, and it's going to be 3084 and all this kind of stuff. So we're living in a matrix right now, information matrix, and they're trying to shut everybody down. So they could be coming to the Angry Beavers and making us really angry, you know. So just got to keep going and do what we have to do to get the truth out, no matter if we have to give up everything for it.
Oh, the Arab Spring. Symbols here. DNA, fingerprints, iris scan, personal keywords encrypted, credit card numbers. They're getting everything. That's wild. U.S. government's starting. Hillary Clinton's directive too. Hillary Clinton issued the directive to spy on.
Yeah, Steve McMaster. He's the one who runs the Unity for Jay. Those are his banners. And I met him last year, and I decided, hey, I'm going to join you. So one time we actually tripled our turnout. There were 6 people.
6 people?
Yes! One day there were 6 people.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
I like that.
Usually it's just the 2 of us.
Yeah,
this is why I have so many signs, because I'm trying to do the job of 3 protesters or rallies, you know what I mean? So I've been up for 2 days making those signs in case anybody shows up, because they'll all say, oh, we don't have a banner. Okay, there you go, $5, you can rent it. Professionally done, covered in saran wrap if there's a storm, because every fucking time we're here, it's hailing. The only thing we've not had is a meteorite. You know, every time we've been here.
You're scaring me.
Yeah, no, I know.
You're scaring me.
So him and I work tirelessly to, I don't know, try to awaken the masses, you know, just plant seeds. Plant a seed. I even brought bubbles for the kids and Pokemon cards to hand out, you know, because I'm fighting for the next generation's freedom, for God's sakes, you know? They don't realize. Assange, it's not about Assange, it's deeper.
Deeper than that, yeah.
It's about freedom of speech and censorship. You start taking away that from journalists, then it's not that we're next, because I have 8 Facebook accounts.
Really?
Okay, because I get banned on a weekly basis. That's when I know I'm telling the truth.
Exactly, yeah.
You know? Like, at first I was being reported, but now I'm being monitored. That's why I don't bother hiding my face anymore. because of the embassy, U.S. embassy. They listen. Yeah, and you know what's funny? Assange had a great quote. My first rally here was last year when I first met Steve, and my poster said, and it was a quote from Assange, it said, "Power is a matter of perception. They don't need to kill you, they just need you to think they can."
Yeah.
Right? And I was right facing them. Oh, you know?
Well, fear is a great weapon.
Well, fear is the mother of all morality, right? People of fear. And they don't want to do this because people are afraid of a revolution because they're afraid to lose a little bit of scraps that are thrown at them. Okay? And, you know, there's two kinds of people in the world. People who think the answer to government is more government, and people who think.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's true. It's like I have like a shit hat. Like an emoji hat, and I'd say this is my government hat. I trust my government hat. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of stuff going on, you know, and I'm just you know, oh, we're conspiracy theorists. I said no, you're wrong. I'm a conspiracy realist. There's a big effing difference.
Conspiracy fact.
Yeah. And then when we're proven right, nothing gets said. And this man has never been proven wrong once. Never. Everything he has released has been, he didn't commit any crimes, he simply exposed them. And I think as of today, there's 18 charges against him for conspiracy to commit treason, and like Hillary Clinton's, I'm pretty sure it was Hillary that said, we're going to tie Assange up in court for the next 25 years. Yeah. That's what they're going to do. They're going to shuffle him back and forth. But the day Assange is in not good shape. He can't even speak.
His health is bad.
He's actually, the man is in a maximum security prison and hasn't been charged with anything, okay? And that fucking prick of a president, when he became the new president of Ecuador, sold Assange for $3.4 billion?
Follow the money.
Because he got a loan from the International Monetary Fund for $4 billion. There you go, have Assange.
Yeah.
Fuck freedom.
Yeah.
You know? So the reason I do this is so that my children can say my mother did not remain silent.
Exactly.
That's why I do it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know? So
So that's why I got
Oh, yes, I love, and you know what else Einstein said? World War III will be fought with nuclear weapons. World War IV will be fought with stones.
Stones, yeah.
And the day America fucks with Iran, it's not just Iran. It's going to be China and Russia.
Yeah.
And America will end up fighting with stones because they have no jobs. If it wasn't for war, there would be no jobs. I've seen videos of Tent City in LA, and I cannot believe it. I have a photo of a man, and he's all bones. And it's a true story. He's in LA, he's homeless, and he's starving, he's just bones. And you know what he did? He went to a rich neighborhood to die under a hedge so he could die in a nice place. How fucking sick is that?
Yeah.
You know, how dare America call, what are they, 30th in the world when it comes to education? Because you know why? Osho, I love Osho. He said, no society wants you to become wise. It is against the interest of any society to be wise because you cannot be subjugated or enslaved.
Yeah.
And then, you know, people will say, well, Michelle, you're ranting. I'm not ranting, I'm speaking with passion and conviction. But people forget what that sounds like.
Exactly.
Okay?
They've never heard it.
Because they're like this. George Orwell said, did a quote after he wrote 1984. He said, you know what? There's going to come a time where people are not going to look up from their screens. Of course he meant television, but look at it now. People are walking around with their phones. Okay? They don't realize everything you say on there is being recorded. This 10-year challenge by Facebook, they just want to update the facial recognition software. Oh yeah, that's stupid? There's no photos of me on Facebook. Women, they friend me. And when I look at their profile, I say to them, why would you want to be my friend? You have pictures of your food and 100 pictures of yourself in the bathroom. You know? Like, what is wrong with you? And the feminists, oh, don't get me on them. You ever notice how fat and ugly they are?
Oh.
That's why they're friggin'. You know how you get rid of feminists? Build really small doorways.
Yes, I know.
I know I'm really bad, right? So what are you here for today?
Well, we're covering this event.
Oh,
We're
okay.
with Angry Beaver Radio.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Angry Beaver Radio.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe a snowflake isn't upset at the beaver comment. You know, like somebody's going to, I find that offensive.
I don't.
You know, like, listen, your feelings belong to you. How can I hurt your feelings when they're your feelings?
Exactly.
And how dare you say it's offensive? So by you telling me what I say is offensive to you, is you're telling me I'm not allowed to say it. So I can't have an opinion. Opinion is the lowest form of knowledge. But, you know, but it's ridiculous. I saw a quote the other day, and this lady said, you know, I'm fat, but I identify as skinny, so I'm trans slender. So we make all these jokes now, trans, right? Like this guy, a guy followed his daughter into the washroom and he said, I'm gonna knock his teeth out because I identify as a tooth fairy. Like, where does it end? Okay, I want to identify as a 30-year-old Marilyn Monroe. You know, like when does it stop?
Yeah.
You know, nothing against the gay community, nothing at all. But you know, if you can't accept who you were to begin with, how do you expect us to accept you when you couldn't accept yourself to begin with? Yeah.
Are you surprised to see the TVs here? Or?
Yeah, because I've called them 10 times. All 10 times I've been here, they've never shown up. And they'll drive by and they'll just see Steve and I. But now that we've evolved, because when we started we had a banner and a poster, right? So as we go we learn, and we've been, I did all this myself last night. I went to UPS, downloaded some stuff off Twitter, like for posters, and had all those made. Covered them in saran wrap in case there's a storm. I'm prepared for and they all have ropes so you can hang them, so you can smoke, you have your coffee. I came up with the idea, you know why? Because I have arthritis and I can't hold signs, so I just wear them. But I have to pretend I'm three people, right?
Oh yeah. You're evolving.
Yeah, this is it. Like we had none of this. Steve just did that, and it's not cheap. This stuff.
No.
It's not at all. No.
Well, getting the truth out is never cheap to begin with.
Yeah,
But it's always free.
and just to let you know, I have no friends. And when I have a family gathering, they phone me the day before. Mom, no politics, no conspiracy theories. So I had to bake a pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. So I baked it and I put resist in dough on the top of it. That's all I was allowed to say because they get sick of it. And you know what? They bring it up and expect me to shut up. Don't poke me and then play victim when I go there. You know, so you know what I am? I'm a goddamn revolutionary. That's what I am.
That's the fun part about.
You know? I know they're gonna kill me soon, but that's okay. This fate's worse than death.
We could respectfully disagree with each other. We could just have a great conversation about
You know?
all disagree.
I mean,
So we used to be part of Toronto Truthseekers.
oh,
And we used to go down by Dundas Square and
this is,
hand
you
out
know what, we
DVDs
were
and flyers.
going to do that, but and get the foghorn and everything like that. But we like doing it in front of the embassy because, you know, we just like to. Every time we're here, another CMP officer comes over. He works for the consulate. They'll come over and talk to us. Oh, you guys again. All the times you've been here, we've never caused any trouble. We don't accost. I don't run up to people and go, the earth is flat. You know what I mean? We just, somebody reads my banner, I go, what are your thoughts? I don't, you know. And people are really interested. We just can't get them to come out.
Yeah, they're afraid.
Because it's not that, you know, because Canadians are very patient. Canadians are very patient. And unfortunately, that patience has become complacency. And that complacency has become apathy. Okay? So any kind of free thinker is frowned upon. Like, you know, we get drugged because, you know, because we don't, like, society says be yourself. No, not like that. You know what I mean? Like it's, you know, it's, everybody's afraid. Gore Vidal had a great quote once. He said, people will never revolt because they don't want to lose the scraps that are thrown at them. You know, I'm really into the messages, not the messenger. Che Guevara said once, if you tremble with indignation at every injustice, you may be a comrade of mine. And that is very powerful. I don't, you know, it's always about the message, not the messenger. But So you're with this gentleman too, the Angry Beaver?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll be back.
Steve, can I see you for a sec, hello?
Yes.
These gentlemen are from the Angry Beaver Radio.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, so this is Steve McMaster. He's the
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Unity
Good to see
for
you too.
Gay guy.
As you can see, we're here to support Julian Assange, and we're trying to raise awareness to fight so there's no extradition. We're here to fight his extradition. He would be looking at over 175 years in jail, and you can be rest assured they'll try to make sure that that's not simultaneous. Let's serve each one at a time. He'd be stuck in jail for the rest of his life, and you know, I mean, his health situation is bad as it is. I mean, this would kill him, and all for the crime of publishing the truth, all for the simple crime of this. I mean, you know, we created this WikiLeaks wall just so people could see just what WikiLeaks has done to expose governments around the world,
And
not
he's
just
actually,
the U.S.
He's actually a hero to a lot of people
around
who know about him.
I mean, I've had, you know, it's amazing. I've had people come up, an elderly Tibetan man come up, and he was going, "Thank you," because it was WikiLeaks. Other organizations have done but he remembers when WikiLeaks exposed videos in China of protests in Tibet that never get out.
Yeah.
And I had a girl come by one time, Sarah, who she has been kicked out of Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
She was kicked out of Egypt because government said, "You're no longer welcome here. You don't come back." They had to leave family and friends, and Canada gave her refugee status, amnesty, and for the simple fact that she was very democratic. She didn't support the current government military. She didn't support, like, at the same time in the Islamic Revolution, she stood for sort of a more secular Egypt. She was hated all around, basically. A young girl. I mean, this girl, you know, she looks under 20. She's here by herself, literally in the country. And she came, and when she walked by, she saw a picture of Julian Assange. She didn't even need to know what it was. She recognized, and her eyes started crying. And she's sitting there, and I'm watching her, and I'm going like, I mean, I'm heartstrings pulling right there, and I'm going to her like, "Oh, well, you know, are you okay?" And she goes, and
Steve had those pretty
she speaks English, but she's like, you know, he's a hero.
Mm-hmm.
When she was a child, she remembers the Arab Spring. She was too young to leave the house. Mom wouldn't let her. She was eager to go see what was going on, you know, a bit too young to fully grasp it, but she knew and understood that this was a monumental change inside Egypt. And with peaceful mind and thinking that it was going to be fun, not understanding that, you know, the potential that such an upheaval will have. So the mom told her to stay home, but she remembers very well how the Arab Spring was ignited because one of the leaks that are on this wall. With the Arab Spring, when the state cables came out, it started complete upward and changed the Middle East. In fact, it made Tunisia into a democracy.
Really?
Maybe not the best one in the world, but you know, it's something compared to the dictatorship that it previously had. And you know, it to this day it still affects, because you know, from Syria to Bahrain to Saudi Arabia, these countries are still dealing with the fact that the state cables opened up a lot of people to nefarious things going on within the governments over there. And just how much a lot of their governments are bought and paid for by the United States.
Oh, for sure.
But to see her, and she was crying, and she was here originally for a different rally.
Oh, yeah.
She couldn't leave. She said, "No, this is more important."
It was more important, yeah.
And I said, you know, I said to her, I go, "I wish there were more people like you." I go, and she, but we've had so many people come up from around the world who have said, you know, how much, what WikiLeaks has meant to them and in their particular country.
Yeah.
And this is what this is about. This is a vigil. It's less of a protest and more of a vigil, in the sense that, you know, we're not trying to scare the living daylights of the consulate, though it seems to have worked on more than a few occasions.
Yeah.
You know, they don't seem thrilled with us here, but we're a vigil to raise awareness. We want people, point of this wall, we want people to realize that this is the way journalism is properly done, the way Julian Assange has. It's, here's the facts, and we're not trying to tell you what to think. You read them, you decide for yourself.
Exactly.
If you want to know, if you want me to answer some questions, I will. You know, come up to me. I'm standing here, but you can hands-off approach, learn, walk away, and decide, hey, I want to look up WikiLeaks, you know, .org, and have a look more at some of the other leaks. You know, we're about winning this hearts and minds with truth.
Yeah.
Because as Julian Assange says, that's all we have in this world is truth. And that's what we have to fight with. You know, it's we're not going to convince anyone by being antagonistic. You know, the governments are unified in their oppression. You know, we've got to, like, as citizens, we got to be unified in our, you know, in our stands for human rights and for freedom of speech and for journalism. I mean, I love that you guys are here. I love that we've started to see journalists, people within media showing up, because this is the future.
Yeah, because they have no choice right now but to go along with what we're doing.
Yes, yeah.
Or else their ratings are way down.
Ratings go down. They literally could lose their job. Journalists have said, you know, we publicly say something to our editors will literally call us in the office and fire us. There's a stand, and that is that you don't tackle the government to this end. You can criticize a little, but not in any way that actually affects the government in any sense.
But you do that on your own time. When you're hearing lectures, you have your script.
You have your script.
On their script.
And sometimes they're not even allowed to do it on their own time. They're told that, hey, what you do outside reflects on it. So they become afraid. But the reality is, every one of them has to face the fact. Daniel Ellsberg, Pentagon Papers himself, the man, the leaker, came out and said that we're looking at a point that if they arrest him and they charge him with the Espionage Act and through this grand jury, that unless a journalist just happens to be sitting having his lunch here on this particular stone, and out of the sky, out flies a leak that lands on his lap. That's the only way that you're possibly not going to find yourself in the same situation as Julian Assange. And that is a risk to anybody within journalism. And I would imagine that for journalists, back when they still were motivated and they were in college and university wanting to learn, it's these kind of scoops that they dreamed of being able to break that story that would go down in history and change a country, a nation, the world. And you know, and that's at jeopardy. And so if journalists can't come out, I'll stand for them. I still hope the best, but I hope too that they find the courage within themselves to come out and stand up and realize that he is not any different. What he was doing was a little more independent-minded, but that's where we're at. I mean, I don't think the mainstream media understand this, that the mainstream media are very quickly, the reason why they're losing ratings, CNN, MSNBC, CBC, is because no one trusts them anymore. Everyone's going, you know what, I have to go to the indies, I have to go to the independent media, I have to go to the small, I even have to go to bloggers on YouTube and whatnot to actually learn information, because why the hell didn't they tell me that? There's information that is significant, that's for lack of another word, I mean, how else do you put it? Hidden from the public.
Exactly. Look what they did to Alex Jones. They just, whether you believe them or you don't, they just shut him right down.
Shut him down. I mean, Paul Jones, a guy who did work with him, does a lot of stuff his own. I mean, they cut him down. There's an independent journalist, Tim Pool, who found himself attacked. There have been. And it's on the left and it's on the right, and this is a battle that everybody's involved.
Anymore. It's all both sides of it.
It's everybody, like anybody who just stands and decides to, anyone who isn't towing the line and just saying whatever the press release that came out through the fax machine or nowadays on email. Here's your lines. This is what you're going to talk about Trudeau today. You know, if you don't toe that line, you say, well, wait a minute. I have a leak on SNC Lavalin. Oh, you better be careful. You're going to end up like Julian Assange. You know, like I've been trying to bug Chrystia Freeland on social media. She's joined forces with the UK, and supposedly there's a joint Canada-UK group now who support. We're in charge of supporting press freedom. So Chrystia Freeland sitting down with Jeremy Hunt and all these people, and they're bragging about how important journalism is and freedom. And I go, Assange? I mentioned Assange just in a sentence, please. Like I go, and considering it's the UK, Chrystia, please, will you bring up the issue? Because as Canadians, I think most Canadians very much believe in freedom, and we've always been a country where we pride ourselves on freedom of the press and human rights and freedoms in general. And you want a winning election strategy? Just come out and say, hey, we want UK, you guys, we're in this meeting. Tell us what's going on with Julian Assange and why are you treating him this way? And Christia, you will find your ratings going through. If nobody else in the Liberal Party gets elected, you would.
Yes.
It is an issue which I did a poll recently. I put out an ad to promote this campaign. They hit 30,000 plus average Torontonians. I didn't want, because they showed an interest in WikiLeaks. I wanted the average people to help just get word out. So they might hate WikiLeaks. Random poll where people can make comments, decide for themselves, informal, Facebook. Yeah. They either like it or they don't, right? Trust me, they'll tell you when they don't. They'll tell you when they like it. What's the response? 93% positive responses for Julian Assange. Only 7% have an issue. That 7% are really vocal. Those 7% make me wonder if they're hired trolls. Yeah. I won't necessarily say that's for sure, but it's overwhelming, the support that Julian Assange has. Cool. The fact that a government such as with Trudeau, Freeland, or even on the other opposition parties, hey, you want to sit there and swing an election in your favor, support Assange. You know, like exactly. There's 93% of the people out there want to hear something come from the government in a way of support for it. You know, and that's just from, as I say, a pretty accurate informal poll that I held.
But we need more people like him in the first place to just come out with it. Even if you have to give up everything.
Yes,
it's there.
It's there. I mean, like,
it's not that hard.
It's not that hard. No. And I mean, we're creating an environment now where. What happens to the next Chelsea Manning?
Boy.
What happens?
Joking. I'm excited. Yes, I'm right behind this event. Okay.
It's definitely.
I'm gonna get my coat put in here for when I fall.
It does look like, I guess, there's going to be.
Yeah. Sir, were you the group that put the advertisement for this?
Yes,
you did. Yes.
Well, when I say group, it literally was just me. I paid for it out of the pocket, but we do have a group that I fully support, like to think I'm a member of. I certainly appear to be, they've been supportive as well of the cause, and that is Unity for J. Unity for, if people could go to a Discord, just type that in, DISCORD, Unity for J, and there's various ways to go and become a part. But they hold a really, really good vigil to watch every Friday from about 3 to 7. And you see Joe Lorien, you see John Kariakou, and you see so many media figures. Elizabeth Lee Voss, Susie Dawson, Kitty Hundell from the Ontario Civil Liberties Association.
Right.
She gets involved, and they really inform the public about the latest updates on what's happening with Julian. And it's a great little bit of viewing. It's certainly more. You're going to find more interesting facts on that than just tuning into whatever's on TV.
So
at that time.
With the advertisement, when I saw it on Facebook, I read it and I said, I have to attend this. Yeah. So I called my friend up and we decided we'd come down. And I shared it about half a dozen times on Facebook.
Thank you so much. I mean, like, I go, it's persistence. I said, like, they never have to worry. I mean, they're in the case of the U.S. consulate, I say, they get worried, but they have to remember too that there was a time when the Ecuadorian President Correa offered asylum to a great hero, Julian Assange, and it was because of a consulate embassy that offering him asylum that he is still around today, and we didn't have this grand jury indictment happen 9 years ago. And so out of respect to consulates, they played an important role. They played an important role for Julian. And who knows, the next Canadian leaker, story on SNC Lavalin or something might come out, and who knows, he's going to have to make a run for this consulate. And if the Americans are as decent as Correa and offer asylum, I'm not going to be the person to interfere. That's why we picked across the street, so that it was symbolic for whistleblowers, that we go, if you need to make a run for it, I'm not going to be the guy who gets in the way and gets you caught. And they're always welcome to come across and discuss. We're not the enemy. We're here to inform, and inform we are. We do this every Saturday. I like to say every Saturday. I'll admit, there's here and there, Saturday has to be taken off. I mean, part of the problem of not being a big organization is that when you do it on your own, all it takes is a dental appointment, and suddenly, shoot, that Saturday's shot. and during the summer, I mean, we're not giving up. They know we're not going anywhere. They're down so used to us. RCMP sees us. They've all come down. They've all said hello. At first they were like, what are you doing? Now they say hello. They stop and chat. It's like, it's you guys with the signs. You know, they go, they've learned. We're about hearts and minds. And for people who are concerned or worried because they know it's a high-profile case, and they're people thinking, well, I don't want to end up on a blacklist. I don't want to go down to a vigil like this because you're going to be some of the most wanted people in Toronto afterwards. I go, come down. You'll be pleasantly surprised. People will stop and chat. People, but also people will. The cops are friendly. They support. We've had, and they're on the job. They're not supposed to, so it's off the record. But we've had a few say, you know what, we believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and just
we're just here to make
just
sure
don't tell my boss.
Just don't tell my boss.
Yeah. You know, here he is. It's great to see you.
I didn't want to interrupt the interview.
Yeah.
Oh, we already did it.
City
City
TV.
TV. Yeah,
Okay.
City TV was
Right
here.
there. It's as well. But
Okay, Luke,
continuing. Continuing.
Well, actually,
We
I shouldn't be smiling.
I'd like to see this go around into every city. What the movement needs right now to free Assange is it's not just momentum, but we need more numbers. And so for people out there who are sitting on the fence and thinking, "Oh, other people are doing this," or really, what difference does it make? I'll tell you, it makes all the difference in the world. It's perception. You could sit on the internet and type till your fingers are bleeding and you're about to feel like they're going to fall off, and nothing much changes. The government never fears that. The government fears visible signs of action. And if they were to see every community in Canada have even just one or two people stand on a street corner waving the sign, that would be a sign to them that's like, whoa, this issue is the biggest potato. We can't, we don't want to touch it. We have to. And they would be making statements in support because they'd realize it's the kind of issue that can affect elections. And so, that one person who just has the courage to do this as well, and whether from BC, Vancouver to Medicine Hat, over to St. John's, Newfoundland, or Halifax. Pick your city, pick your small town, Tuktoyaktuk, Northwest Territories. Put up a sign and show that you're interested in it as well. And if we do this across the globe, and Assange will be out of there in weeks. Assange will be out of there in weeks. The case is so flimsy and they know it. The only thing they're relying on is apathy and putting fear into people. That doesn't need to be and doesn't need to exist. We're growing this, and we're going to keep doing this, to make sure that at least the United States, through the consulate, knows that we are aware of what they're doing and that we don't support it. And we're not just sitting idly by saying, oh, well, we don't care. For people who haven't heard the news, he's now in the health ward at the hospital. He's been incoherent. There's been accusations and suggestions that there's interrogations that go on that are literally driving him possibly past the point of what any sane person can deal with. And that and of course they are putting the fear of God in him. Even if they were to do nothing besides the solitary confinement, they're having him surrounded by some of the worst mass murderers in the UK, terrorists, just guys who woke up this morning and decided, let's go kill the wife and kids for fun, and plunge knives in them. Some of the worst horrific people are found in the Belmarsh prison. And they just took a journalist, a publisher, whose only so-called crime was publishing some truth, and stuck him in there and said, hope you survive. And that's offensive beyond belief, and how that doesn't make people want to come out, and just be up in arms is stunning to me. People need to be active, and for a selfish motivation, if not even for Julian, but it's because of your future. Because Julian Assange is a litmus test for where we're going to be heading, where we're going to be next. We're going to. I can guarantee you that until he's free, we're not going to see the same level of whistleblowers that we used to.
Damn, this is the
Anybody
most
who's
fun I've had in a
there
long
could be
time.
people sitting on whoa, Trump taxes, or whoa, well, Canada, as I say, I've said it a few times, an SNC-Lavalin Bombardier connection to the Saudis, but will they reveal it? Whoa, I don't think so. They're not, it's like what? Because first off, I come out, then the journalists are going to turn on me, report, it's like, hey, Joe did it. And then I'm going to end up in jail and with no support because I saw what happened to Assange. So there's going to be no WikiLeaks, and stories like these 10 will never be heard. They will never be heard. And these are the kind of stories that people need to hear because these directly impact your life. These are the stories that affect your kids. If you're not out here for Assange, you should be out here for your kids. If you're a journalist, you should be out here for your profession because today you may be just writing about the local parade that's happening. Tomorrow, you might find a phone call that involves a leak that's about to change the entire nature of Canada's elections.
Yep.
And do you want to find yourself hauled into a maximum security prison because you did the ethical duty of reporting on it?
Yeah.
That's and that's
the duty of your country.
That's the duty
of you.
That's the duty you have to yourself. That's that duty for your own, so you can look in the mirror at yourself and say, you know what? I want my kids to know I did the right thing. That I did this so that their future was protected. That their future.
No, what your country can do for you is what you can do for your country.
That what you can exactly. And what. And also so that you know what your country has done to you.
Yeah.
But it's that. I mean, you wake up. Do you want to look at your kids and say, hey, I tried for them and I made sure and we successfully kept for our kids a free press, the right, their human rights are still, untouched. They're not being hauled off to prison just because they were vocal about something. Yeah. If you want your kids to have that kind of courage, that they themselves will stand up and believe and do what they feel is right, this is where you can start.
That's right.
You can
and they'll
sit there
follow
and
in
come
your
down,
footsteps,
and
right?
they'll follow in the footsteps. Yes. But if they see their parents stand up, if they see their parents are just sitting back lethargically, wondering, well, I could sit there and support Julian, but Survivor's on. Then they're going to sit there, and I'll tell you, they may not exactly pay for the retirement home because they're going to look at mom and dad and say, you're the reason why I'm scared to go to school because the drone is threatening to shoot me if I open my mouth or dare to turn my iPhone on.
Yeah.
And people sit there and say, that sounds like an exaggeration. Well, look at the world around us right now and say, look at the things that are going on. It would have shocked anybody in the 70s and 80s that we'd be seeing this kind of surveillance.
So are you saying drones actively go out to shoot children?
I'd say they do, especially in war zones.
And specifically in Israel-Palestine?
No. We're talking about in the case of Julian Assange. We're not anything to do with that.
Well, can't mention me Julian Assange?
This is because of the U.S. consulate.
Yeah,
a lot of people are here because of the good. Oddly enough, we're here for something different. But as far as when it comes to war zones, anywhere, it doesn't matter. Countries, Afghanistan, whether it comes to there really isn't a lot of oversight as to how the drones are being used, and so. Yeah, there is a risk. There's no risk that you only have to look at what happened over at the London airport recently, where a drone shut down the airport for days on end to see that drones do pose a concern. Certainly, there's.
I think when I get home, I'm going to make up a few of these flyers and hand them out. Old school. Yeah, old school.
Now they didn't do
grassroots.
Fly around the woods and stuff.
Because we got to get this information out. If we don't, we're going to be part of the problem, not the solution. So this is the solution right here. Yeah, plain and simple. So you know what's going on in the United States? And I said, yeah, a little bit, that type of thing. And I'm thinking in my head, why are they asking me such a question? Right? What do they know? They must have put my name up there, and they found out maybe I could have been with Toronto Truthseekers or Angry Beaver Radio or whatever. So, but fortunately they let me in, so it was all right. That was when Obama was still
You might be the only one in
president.
trouble.
So it's getting busier down there.
I like your
Yeah, it is busy.
I
Yeah,
like your flag.
My
it looks good.
is an American flag.
More the merrier. These up. I'm gonna hand them out to people.
Yes, yeah. Well, thank you so much. Because
bus
it's our,
stops or
we have
anything.
You're the guy from now, right?
No.
No?
Peter.
Come with
That's
Angry Beaver
here at some
Radio.
point.
Don't piss us off, okay? We'll come and tear down your tree.
We can't get that kind of funding. Look at those posters. Look at their funding. Why can't somebody
we can't
take?
get this kind of
Yeah, this is
enthusiasm?
why can't we get
You
this
know,
kind of
and like,
funding?
you know, I mean, I'm just as interested in what's happening in Tibet, in Afghanistan, to cross into like Kazakhstan. We'll go into Belarus. We'll go into Germany. I'm interested in what's going on in those countries in regards to human rights.
Human
and
rights are human
freedoms.
rights across the board.
Across the board. And yet, you know, in so many cases, it just seems to be that they're only interested in just a small
I think
group.
we have more privileges than we do have rights. Because privileges can be taken away from
They
you.
can be taken away. Well, they're
The
called
ones who-
privileges,
yeah.
but they shouldn't be.
Yeah. But the ones who have the rights are the ones that put the privileges there.
Yeah.
Like it's a privilege to own a house, a privilege
Now, is
to
this
own a
good
car.
news or bad
Yeah.
news?
Because you don't, it's all crown land.
Yeah.
Like if you don't pay your taxes on your
Technically, taxes are voluntary.
geez, when I got here, there's nobody. Now look, see what kind of see what I caused here, just showing up. But I was kind of down here, kind of like discreetly, just sitting on one of the benches and you know, just waiting to see what was going on. But now look at it. Yeah. We gotta leave other people's countries alone. You know, stop. We learned as kids to, you know, like to mind our own business, not the business of others. That's what governments do. They intervene in other countries, like the U.S. government goes into Iraq, Afghanistan, not for the reasons that they tell you. They go there to take all their natural resources. You get it. Yeah. Time for a change, and I'm glad we're getting the radio show back on track again. Because there's a lot more going on than what you think, so we need to get the word out. So that's what Angry Beaver is all about, independent media.
Your children to hear the truth. We love the truth. We love to speak. We love to listen. We gotta go, people.
It's all the same to me. Hip hop back in the 60s, it'd probably be called a hippie hop. You never had it.